I love how we have one well-animated episode and everybody's on the show's dick all of a sudden. Bruh. So let's talk about it. So... Black Clover episode 49 came out earlier this week, and I usually have a tendency to go in to look up reaction videos because there aren't that many, because Black Clover doesn't get that level of love that the other Shonen Jump titles get. But, of course, because this actual episode was animated by Studio Pierrot, meaning it looked fucking amazing, I want to say at least somewhere between 70 or 80% of the time. Well, again, everybody and their grandma, Black Clover is it. Black Clover is the greatest. Everybody hail Black Clover. And I'm like, listen, I'm happy for the series' attention. I'm just annoyed it took a well-animated episode to get it. Like, part of that just bums me the fuck out. But I wanted to do something slightly different that I don't think a lot of people do, which is talk about, I'm not going to really talk about the episode in the sense of what happened, because it's literally just a fight sequence, and the way you can sum it up is, they beat Veto, Asta beats Veto, Veto tries to kill himself, Yami beats Veto. Like, that's literally the whole fucking episode, so I don't want to do that. But I did want to talk about some of the differences between the manga and the anime, and kind of how I feel, because the arc is essentially over. That's not really a spoiler. Considering this was supposed to end at episode 51, there's only 2 more episodes in the original first season, so that should already give you a clue. There wasn't a lot else they could do. But I do want to go ahead and address some of the differences and how I prefer the manga to the anime in certain aspects. First off, the arc is a lot fucking longer in the anime because they put a bunch of fucking filler in. Most of it is unneeded, and in some cases I think it's worse. And I think part of the issue I have with this animated arc is the fact that I think originally when they were animating this arc, they were under the impression that this was going to be it. Because remember, 51 was supposed to be it. And I think that's what hurts it. For example, one of the first things I'm going to bring up to you, Gray, Gaunch, and Charmy are not there during this fight. During the Veto stuff, they are not here. At all. Okay? They're in... After we find out that Gray is actually a girl and that she's 24 and shit, that's it. That's the last thing we see of them until what we're supposed to see tomorrow. The next week, next episode, which that gag is unfortunately ruined. So in the original manga, Gray, Gaunch, and Charmy weren't there. They never fought Veto. They never even saw Veto. They don't show up until after Yami beats him, alright? And there's a gag of Charmy coming in on the cot being like, bring it on, fuckface. Like, they're coming to help. They're just late. I think the main reason why I don't like this is because it undermines the... Actually, I think even the sections of the other issue is that there's a bunch of filler moments where Yami's talking to them. He doesn't do that the majority of the damn fight. He doesn't even do... He doesn't really show up until the very end like he does in the episode. He doesn't do any of this talking or suggestion or even coaching. I get what they were going for, trying to make him come off as like a sensei, because that is what Yami is. I get it, but it kind of undermines, to me personally, Vanessa and Finral. Because Vanessa and Finral, that is full on all them the entirety of this fight. The whole fight, it's the special magic and the threads. The special magic and the threads. It's none of this outside help bullshit where Gaunch is shooting out mirrors and shit, or Noelle shoots out a little water cannon. None of that shit happens. It's full on fucking Finral, Vanessa, and Asta. That's it. As soon as they start in the manga, that's all you see in terms of fighting. And I think that made them come off more as badasses in the manga, whereas in the anime, it's like, oh, everybody has to help and they need inspiration, and it kind of downplays it. Another change is that they added more to Vanessa's backstory in the anime. In the manga, it's not that detailed. Now, the reason why is because we do get to see Vanessa's backstory later. We get to see the full version of that backstory a little later. And I think in the anime seems to be taking elements from that full backstory we get later for her into this particular backstory. Because actually, the kicker is that the majority of the backstory flashback stuff was more focused on Finneral. Because, spoiler, you're going to be seeing a lot more Finneral and Vanessa within the next arc or so. So, get used to those two. But I think, and Finnerals actually means a lot considering not where we're going next, but where we'll eventually be at. But that's besides the fucking point, alright? I don't mind that addition because it doesn't really hurt anything. No, it doesn't really hurt anything. It's just more of a weird change. The other thing is probably Yami at the end, and I hate the way I think I blame the subtitles probably more than anything. In the original version, because I think I saw a lot of reactions and I don't think people got it. When Yami gets out and shows up behind them to like back them up, which like I said would have only been Noelle, Finral, Asta, and Vanessa in the manga, it's essentially said to us at the end that the reason why he was able to break out is because he was essentially inspired by the amount of effort and work that all his subordinates did, and it kind of like pushed him past his limits. So the ability he uses at the end of the episode is something he just got. A lot of people were like, oh, he could do that the whole time. No, he couldn't. He literally learns the ability in that moment. It's not a fucking, he's had this ability the whole time. He just fucking learned it. I think I hate this one the most because it downplays the shit out of Yami. And I don't like Yami getting downplayed on some dumb shit. He just learned the ability. It wasn't like he always had it. He just learned it. It's probably the reason why I like Yami as a character, that just like the rest of his crew, he also grows and changes as the series progresses. Like, he gains new abilities. I hate that. That's one thing I always hate about Sensei characters. The Sensei characters tend to, like, already be at the top of their game. But think about it. Gray's 24, and I think Yami's like 28. Like, Yami's not that much older than even some of the older members. So it's like, the fuck? So I don't know. It bothered me because I saw a bunch of reactors being like, oh, so he's being had the whole ability the whole time? The fuck? No, he just gained it. He just gained it. I know a lot of people sometimes don't like that because it's like a Deus Ex Machina bullshit, where it's like, oh, you conveniently learned the move that you needed to learn. Although, to be fair, Black Clover has had that be a president for a while now, like Gaunch. Was it Gaunch? Yeah, Gaunch learned an ability like that, I believe. It was Gaunch. Who else? Somebody else learned it. I think it was Gaunch, and I think Noelle learned an ability like that, where they kind of learned it in time. Whether you think that's good writing or not, that's up to you. But I'm just saying that's just the point I'm making. And honestly, even if I taking this episode, I don't like the way they did this arc overall, particularly because of the dragging it out and how certain sequences were just still poorly animated. I hated so much how they underplayed Rack and Luck, Magna and Luck. Why I call them Rack? Because for those who read the manga, some of the scanlations are really bad for Black Clover, and it's primarily bad in the naming department. They cannot consistently name these characters for shit, and it's fucking frustrating. That's besides the point. It's just something that pisses me the fuck off, alright? That's all I'm saying. I just hate how it was downplayed. I'm very curious about how the next arc is going to go, because there is some contention, and I think I mentioned it in my last video, so I won't go over that again. But the episode was good. They also kind of changed the way some of the positioning of the fight worked. Like, for example, they drug out the fight. The fight didn't go exactly the way it did in the manga. To be fair, fight sequences, I think people don't mind it as much as if it's well animated. And the shit was well animated, so I didn't mind it as much. Although it looks very different than it did in the manga. In the manga, people were confused about how that fight ended with Asta hitting Veto, because the way it's set up in the manga is that he kind of like, after he does the whole I have the promise to and he comes at him and shit, he also does like this spinning fucking slam, kind of like what he does in the anime, but they have all the effects because it's the manga, all the effects are around him and Veto. So all you can barely kind of see in certain parts of it is like there's Asta's leg, there's a sword, there's Veto's arm or some shit. Like you're just confused. Also, for some reason they changed. I think in the anime, I think in the manga, when he flips over Veto and lands on his butt, in the manga, I think he just fell on his back. I think he just legit fell. And then he got up and said, "How do you like me now, you bastard?" And then they did the pullback and they hug him and shit. I don't know. They also added some filler with the whole Noel being embarrassed. Well, they do praise Noel. It's just not as drug out, I don't think. Like him petting her again, that's filler. We're just reusing jokes. Well, it was whatever. I think that's it. I think that's all for the major changes. I like the episode overall. I don't care for the. I don't think they're. Unfortunately, now I think they can't do the Charmy joke, because I think, if I remember correctly, what actually happens is because Charmy and them don't get there until later. Charmy like traps all the villains in like these cotton balls, and then the sequence is her rushing back on the fucking floating cotton with Gray and Gaunch behind her talking about, "Bring it on, I'm here to beat all you bastards," and her showing up late. The reason why I like this is particularly because even in the manga as of right now, Charmy's like legit strength we don't know. The anime here makes it seem like she's way weaker than what people know her to be weak as. Because no one knows what her fucking strength is in the manga. The anime tries to play it off like, "Oh, Charmy ain't shit." Don't do that, but once again, I think part of that was because when these episodes were animated, they didn't know that they were going to go past 51 episodes. That's my opinion. So, I get it, but I feel like now certain aspects of the anime suffer because of it. And granted, this is all nitpicks from someone who loves the series. Just, Also, I kind of wish Vanessa's voice was different, but that's a whole nother thing. Because they went with like the sexy older woman voice, and I'm like, that's cool. But considering how Vanessa has changed a lot for me in the manga, and as some of you guys will end up seeing in the anime, the voice doesn't really work with me anymore. Like, I expected her to have a different voice. They went for the stereotypical sexy woman, and I'm like, that is how Vanessa's portrayed, but that's not how she ends up. And I'm like, it's not terrible. Like I said, I'm nitpicking at this point. So this is just a bunch of fucking nitpicking. And I promise the next video will have nothing to do with Black Clover. I think I'm going to finally talk about Dr. Stone, because I kind of needed to talk about Dr. Stone. So, until then, thank you guys for watching. Hope this was kind of entertaining. And remember, you're not having fun if you're not going a little bit crazy. He, ha, 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 ha.